When it comes to the legal case against Shannon Sharpe, we have some new developments for you. From more responses, both from his attorney, his former co-host, to another former NFL player, to Sharpe making a surprise visit.
My career, it has happened many, many times since. When someone would intimidate me or scare me and take something that I believe was mine, get between somebody and their paper. Taking a man's livelihood away from him is akin to killing him.
If you say that one more time, I'm gonna choke out of you when I see you.
Dave Chappelle just broke his silence on the lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe, and what he said might blow this whole case wide open. According to people close to Dave, he saw this coming months ago and tried to warn Shannon before it was too late. In his words, you start shaking the table too much, they'll remind you real quick who's really in charge. But the part that's freaking everyone out? Dave's warning sounds exactly like what's happening to Shannon right now. And the craziest part? It's not the first time Dave's seen this kind of thing happen to a black man right before he secures a 9-figure deal. But before we get to what Dave knows and what he's refusing to say on camera, you've got to understand why he's even speaking up at all. Because this isn't just about one lawsuit. It's about timing, power, and silence. And the deeper you look into it, the more this feels like a takedown, not a trial. So, what exactly happened to Shannon Sharpe? And why did Dave Chappelle see it coming before anyone else did? We'll get back to Dave's warning soon, but first, let's rewind. Because this all started right after Shannon Sharpe did something that shook the industry to its core. Before the lawsuit, before the headlines, before Dave Chappelle ever opened his mouth, Shannon Sharpe was winning. Not just as a former NFL Hall of Famer, but as a media juggernaut. His show, Club Shay Shay, went from a niche podcast to a full-blown cultural force. It wasn't just sports talk anymore, it was real talk. Raw, unfiltered interviews with guests who don't normally get a seat at the table. Cat Williams, Monique, Steve Harvey, all using Shannon's mic to call out the shady side of Hollywood. But here's where things start to shift. Right after that Cat Williams episode, the one that broke YouTube with over 40 million views, that's when things got weird.
Get with a white woman because I was scared she might have me running down the street like Jonathan Majors.
There you go, come on, cat.
Not because I didn't like white women. I think white women are as great as any other women. But I'm not gonna act like I'm not scared of them. I have a reason to be scared. You could be Kang the Conqueror, and they could take your rabbit ass down in 2 weekends. And that's the truth of the matter, so I stayed away from that.
Industry folks started side-eyeing Shannon. Sponsors got quiet. And behind the scenes, talk started swirling that Shannon was on the verge of landing a $100 million media deal. The kind of deal that doesn't just change your life, it changes your leverage. And then, boom, a woman files a lawsuit. Accusations hit the timeline. And suddenly, Shannon's name isn't trending for interviews or game day takes. It's trending for something way darker. That's when people started connecting the dots. Started asking, why now? Why just as he's blowing up? Why the exact same playbook we've seen used on other powerful black men? And that's exactly why Dave Chappelle's warning hit so hard. Because Dave's been here before. He saw this happen to Martin Lawrence, to Mariah Carey, even to himself.
Most would have to run the streets for years to learn a lesson that profound. It took me 2 seconds. Never get between somebody and their paper.
But Dave didn't just see it, he said something. And what he said and who he said it to might be the real reason this whole lawsuit feels less like justice and more like a hit job. We'll come back to that. But first, you need to know exactly what Shannon Sharpe is being accused of. Because the details, they're darker than anyone expected. It was a quiet Sunday, April 20th, until everything changed. News broke that a woman, going by Jane Doe, had filed a $50 million lawsuit against Shannon Sharpe in a Nevada court. At first, the details were vague, but then the documents leaked. And suddenly, this wasn't just a scandal, it was a storm.
This just in, the Texas attorney who targeted Sean Diddy Combs with dozens of civil lawsuits on behalf of John and Jane Doe's allegedly victimized by the music mogul has a new target in his sights. NFL legend Shannon Sharpe.
Jane Doe alleges she met Shannon at a gym in Los Angeles in 2023. She was just 19, he was 54. That alone had people raising eyebrows.
Why a 54-year-old man is dating a 19, 20-year-old? I know y'all like to be out here bragging about smashing these young things, but that's not a flex to me. You 54 years old, you should be laid up with your wife and kids, taking your cholesterol medicine, minding your damn business.
But the lawsuit goes way deeper than age gaps and gym flirting. She says Shannon became obsessed, pursuing her, pressuring her, controlling her. In the court filing, Jane Doe paints a disturbing picture. She claims Shannon choked her, threatened to unalive her, secretly recorded private moments, then showed them off without her consent. And at one point even told her he wanted to damage her so badly no other man would ever want her. According to her, Shannon didn't just cross lines, he erased them. The lawsuit says he snuck into her apartment building, trapped her inside. One night, with a gun visible on the table, she says she tried to share her location with friends just in case. But Shannon saw it, and the second he noticed, she says he grabbed her by the neck and threatened her life. Then came the most disturbing part. Jane Doe accuses Shannon of forced sex acts, not once, but multiple times. She names specific dates, October 6, 2024, January 2nd, 2025. She says she cried, begged him to stop, and he didn't. According to her, he assaulted her for 10 minutes, ignoring her tears and screams. But it doesn't stop there. The lawsuit also brings up an Instagram live incident in September 2024. Shannon allegedly leaked a private moment with another woman, Michelle. Jane Doe says watching that live stream triggered deep emotional distress. She feared Shannon had done the same to her, and maybe worse. The picture being painted, a man with power, fame, and money, using all three to manipulate and control women. She's calling him out. She wants a trial, and she's asking for $50 million. But this woman isn't going it alone. Her lawyer? Tony Busby. Yeah, that Tony Busby. The same guy who went after Deshaun Watson. The same guy who took swings at Jay-Z. And now, he's coming for Shannon Sharpe. But here's where it gets complicated, because Shannon didn't sit back and take it. He clapped back hard, and what he did next only made this mess bigger. After the lawsuit dropped, Shannon Sharpe moved fast. He didn't stay silent. He didn't plead the fifth. He went on the offensive. Shannon's lawyer, Lanny Davis, released a statement not just denying the allegations, but also exposing Jane Doe's real identity, Gabriela Zuniga, a woman with a public presence on OnlyFans and Instagram. In that same statement, Shannon's team painted their relationship as consensual, freaky, and roleplay based.
Anything I say, you're just gonna get mad at, and you're just gonna hang up on me, so I feel like...
I'm not gonna hang up on you. Here's what it is.
What does that even mean?
Nothing yet. You want to be a dick to me now, so...
Don't manipulate me.
Oh, Lord have mercy. If you sit down with one more time, I'm gonna choke the out of you when I see you. Thank you.
Well, I don't want to be choked.
Yes, you do. I don't think you have a choice in the matter.
They even claim she asked him to choke her with a dog collar and get her pregnant. Shannon's camp says the lawsuit, a blatant, cynical attempt to squeeze him for millions. But then something changed the narrative. Shannon's own legal team admitted something no one saw coming. He offered her $10 million to walk away. Yep, the same woman he's now calling a liar. The same lawsuit he says is baseless and fake. He offered her 8 figures to stay quiet.
Shannon Sharpe tried to make the whole thing go away with $10 million, but y'all, it didn't work. His legal team just confirmed that he offered his accuser at least $10 million during private mediation talks before she hit him with that $50 million sexual lawsuit.
The public reaction? Instant chaos. One side was like, if he's innocent, why offer hush money? The other side said, he's a high-profile black man. Of course he'd try to make it go away, even if it's false. And that's exactly what Tony Busby jumped on. He took to Instagram, dragging Shannon's defense and calling it a contradiction. On one hand, they say the lawsuit has no merit. On the other, they admit he offered her $10 million to stay silent. That's a fact. That's in writing. He claims Gabriela turned the offer down cold, said she wasn't after a payout, she wanted a trial. And now Busby says even more evidence is coming. Meanwhile, Shannon's team says the $10 million was part of private mediation, not an admission of guilt, but the damage was already done. You can't deny offering money and still convince everyone you've got nothing to hide. And now, every move Shannon makes is under a microscope. The deeper question is this: was that $10 million offer damage control or desperation? And just when it seemed like this case couldn't get messier, Shannon took things even further by turning his camera on and calling the whole thing a shakedown. At this point, Shannon Sharpe wasn't just denying the claims, he was fighting fire with fire. In a video posted online, Shannon looked straight into the camera, no script, no PR filter, and he called the whole lawsuit exactly what he thought it was, a shakedown. He said this wasn't about justice, it was about money, about tearing him down, about silencing a man who was finally winning without their permission.
To my family, friends, supporters, and colleagues, I want to speak to you directly and from the heart. This is a shakedown. I'm going to be open, transparent, and defend myself because this isn't right. This is all being orchestrated by Tony Busby, who has targeted Jay-Z. Tony Busby targets black men, and I believe he's going to release a 30-second clip of a sex tape that tries to make me look guilty and play into every stereotype you could possibly imagine. That video should actually be 10 minutes or so. Hey Tony, instead of releasing your edit, put the whole video out. I don't have it, or I would myself. You know what happened, and you're trying to manipulate the media. The encounter in question took place during the day at her invitation, and now that appears to be a deliberate setup, coordinated by b.i.g, also known as on OnlyFans. Tony Busby wants $50 million. What they're getting is sued for defamation and trying to take me down. My career is all about real talk and honesty. I know my family and fans know exactly what this is about. And I'm going to be out there telling you whatever I need to say, just like I always do. I love all you guys.
Shannon didn't just push back against the woman accusing him, he aimed directly at her lawyer, Tony Busby. This is being orchestrated, he said. This man goes after black men. He tried it with Jay-Z. He's trying it again with me. But here's where things took a risky turn. Shannon's team didn't just defend him, they tried to flip the script entirely. They dropped alleged text messages between Shannon and Gabriella, claimed it was all role play, claimed she wanted everything that happened, even said she begged him to choke her and get her pregnant. The implication? This wasn't assault, it was fantasy. But they didn't provide screenshots, no phone records, just quotes, and the internet wasn't buying it, especially after an audio clip leaked, one where Shannon is allegedly heard saying, "I'll choke the sip out of you." His lawyer claimed the clip was edited, taken out of context, that it was part of the same consensual role play. But by then, the damage was done. Fans started asking, well, if this was all consensual, why does it sound like a threat? Why is Shannon so defensive, so aggressive? If this is all fake? And Gabriella, she wasn't backing down either. Through her lawyer, she made it clear she wasn't going away. She wasn't settling. She wanted her day in court. Meanwhile, Shannon was doubling down in public, calling Gabriella a liar, accusing Busby of twisting the story, and even threatening to sue both of them for defamation. But here's what nobody saw coming. Dave Chappelle was still watching, still quiet, still waiting, because to him, this whole thing felt familiar, too familiar.
It was completely outside of my frame of reference. I've been in show business since I was 14, and I've heard the stories of what happens, and I've seen these kinds of things play out in front of me.
Okay. When you say you heard the stories, what do you mean? What stories?
I mean, you see it before. Look at Mariah Carey. Made a $100 million deal, and 3 months later, she's all of a sudden mysteriously crazy. Or Martin Lawrence punches through, and he's waving a gun on the street screaming, "They're trying to kill me."
Yeah. Yeah, we hear those stories.
And it always happens around the time of their career where it seems as though they're crossing over the next plateau.
Yeah. Would you say you lost your mind, sort of?
No.
No.
Not exactly.
Okay.
I wasn't crazy, but it's incredibly stressful.
Yeah.
And I feel like in a lot of instances, I was deliberately being put through stress.
And the moment Dave finally spoke up, it shook everyone who had been watching this case unfold. The second Shannon hit post on that video, the internet exploded. Half the timeline was riding hard for him. This is another setup. He's a black man speaking truth, and now they're trying to shut him up. But the other half, they weren't buying it, not even a little. Old interviews, past tweets, IG clips from Club Shay Shay. Fans started digging up everything Shannon had ever said about women, and suddenly patterns were being drawn, quotes taken out of context, some maybe not out of context at all. One user on X posted, "Shannon Sharpe is 56, that girl was 19, that's younger than his youngest kid. That's not just weird, it's predatory." Another wrote, "A lack of sexual discipline will really have you out here looking insane." Then came the wave of dark humor. Tweets clowning Shannon for being born during Jim Crow, but allegedly paying for race play with a white woman born after Chris Paul was drafted. It wasn't just backlash, it was brand collapse in real time, and all of it fueled by the mystery. If he didn't do anything wrong, why is this audio so aggressive? Why did he offer her $10 million? Why now? Meanwhile, the Jane Doe claims were getting reposted everywhere. Every forum, every group chat, every shade room, and Tony Busby, he saw it as momentum. He doubled down, promised more evidence, more receipts, hinted that other women might be watching, and they might be ready to speak too. That's when it stopped being about one woman versus Shannon Sharpe. It became a moment, a tipping point, and right in the middle of it was Dave Chappelle. watching it all unfold, just like he said it would. Here's the thing, the internet might be loud, but Dave Chappelle's silence, that was even louder, until he finally broke it. Not in a press conference, not in a tweet, but in a low-key conversation that's now circulating in the shadows of Hollywood circles. According to people close to him, Dave tried to warn Shannon months ago, right after the Cat Williams interview blew up. Right when Shannon's name started getting whispered in boardrooms, Dave reached out, and his message was simple. The industry doesn't like when you stop playing the game. When you start pulling back the curtain, they pull out the playbook. That playbook? It's one Dave knows well. Remember when he walked away from a $50 million deal with Comedy Central? People called him crazy, paranoid, on drugs, but years later, he told us what really happened. How the pressure wasn't just financial, it was psychological. How the people in charge don't like when their talent starts asking questions. He pointed to Mariah Carey, to Martin Lawrence, to stars who hit a peak then suddenly spiral. They make you look unstable, Dave once said, so the public stops listening right when you were about to say something that mattered. And now, Shannon Sharpe is at that same crossroads. On one side, a $100 million deal, mainstream success, total access. On the other, a lawsuit that could kill his career before the ink even dries. And just like Dave warned, it happened fast. Too fast, almost like someone planned it that way. But pause. What if Dave's wrong? What if this isn't a setup at all? What if it's a pattern of behavior finally catching up to Shannon, a 56-year-old man chasing a 19-year-old girl? Leaked audio, text that may or may not be real, and allegations of choking, control, threats. It's not nothing. So now the question isn't just, is Shannon innocent? It's, can both things be true? Could a powerful system be targeting him and he still move foul? Could this be a hit job and a reckoning? Right now, it's one woman's word against a celebrity's empire. But if one more person steps forward, it won't be about protecting Shannon. It'll be about stopping him. So what are we really watching here? A man being set up by a powerful industry that doesn't like when someone plays outside their rules? Or a man whose fame just couldn't cover up the truth any longer? Right now, Shannon Sharpe says he's going to fight back, in court, in public, and in the media. Tony Busby says the real receipts are coming, and Gabriela Zuniga says she's ready to testify. But if one more woman comes forward, that $100 million media empire Shannon was building, it might not survive the week. And honestly, I don't think we've even seen the worst of it yet. Because if Dave Chappelle is right, then this case is just the first move in something much bigger.